What would you pick from your wardrobe if you had to go on an adventure to a completely different country?
Imagine having to do it back in the 1900s when commercial airlines were still a fantasy. Well, for the thousands of Chinese miners from Guangdong, China, they arrived in Australia like this, wearing mandarin collar jackets and loose pants with long single queues, popular among men during the Qing dynasty. Casual wear like this may seem easy for the miners to work in, but it did pose some health and safety concerns. And unlike their European counterparts, Chinese miners didn't even have proper protective wear, such as work boots.
The traditional Chinese style of fashion was carried all the way through to the early 20th century. This samfu you see here is a pretty standard outfit. I wonder if it's a direct translation from Cantonese, as in sam for the top, fu for the pants.
Many people preferred Western-style outfits when socializing in public, but returned to more comfortable and loose-fitting Chinese attire at home.
In front of us is a delicate blue silk jacket from the 19th century, and it belonged to a woman named Mary Tong Way.
Mary Tong Way 本身是在香港出生，但是由一位德国的传教士抚养长大的。当他来到澳大利亚的时候呢，他本人是并没有穿过这一套衣服的。原因呢，是因为他就听从了别人的建议，在澳大利亚就多穿一点西式的服装。所以这件衣服呢，它主要就是朋友去看他或者拜访他的时候，他才会展示给他的朋友看的。
However, for lots of other Chinese migrants, they would still put on their best Chinese outfits for important social occasions, from weddings, funerals, dance balls, to even beauty contests. The 60s saw the rise of the Miss Chinatown beauty contest. You would see contestants in elegant cheongsams, showcasing their cultural traditions and beauty.
It's fair to say that the fashion choices of the early Chinese Australians reflected their cultural lineage and identity.
Fast forward to the 70s, this was an era that saw the rise of an Australian fashion designer who redefined fashion with a bit of cultural fusion.
Welcome to the Sydney Powerhouse Museum, which is home to over 100 items designed by the Chinese Australian fashion designer Jenny Kee. Ta-da! This very special koala jumper was a clear winner out of 6,000 gifts received by Prince Charles and Lady Diana Spencer back in the 80s.
Jenny Kee wanted to design a distinctly Australian garment using Australian animals like the koala, kookaburra and kangaroo, and using Australian wool. This wonderful jumper was given to Diana, the Princess of Wales, on her marriage. And about 7 months later, she wore it to a polo match, and everybody saw Jenny's jumper and wanted one. Her Flamingo Park shop had red lacquer walls, and that was certainly inspired by her Chinese heritage. Her very first collection show was in the Ngara Chinese restaurant in Chinatown in Sydney, and that's where her father and Jenny used to love to eat.
We noticed that Jenny used the colour red quite a lot in her works. I wonder if it's also due to the connection of her cultural background.
Yeah, she certainly was reflecting on her Chinese cultural heritage with using red, but she also chose it because she felt it reflected her fiery and passionate personality. And she loved the Australian waratah, that beautiful red flower, which is a symbol also of New South Wales. She used to see how the bushfires would go through the landscape around her home in the Blue Mountains, and it would destroy everything. And then out of that would come this regeneration of all these bushland and the waratahs flowering beautifully. So this kind of death and regeneration, this spiritual connection to the land that Jenny had, was really expressed through that colour red as well.
Do you think what you wear today tells others about who you are?